Imagine waking up to this bombshell headline: Donald Trump demanding a staggering $230 million from the Justice Department, your taxpayer dollars, because he feels wronged by investigations into crimes we all saw unfold with our own eyes. If you're searching for Trump DOJ payment demand 2025 details, or wondering about the legality of Trump's $230 million lawsuit against DOJ, this is the deep dive you've been waiting for. Because this isn't just audacious, it's a potential blueprint for unchecked power in the Trump era. Stick around as we unpack the insanity, from Trump's wild claims to expert breakdowns on conflicts of interest, and why this could spell disaster for American democracy. If you're fired up about Trump corruption scandals 2025, or DOJ independence threats under Trump, smash that like button now to show support, and subscribe for more breakdowns on these trending political crises. Let's jump right in, because you won't believe how deep this rabbit hole goes. So, this all exploded when Trump, fresh off his election win, slapped the DOJ with a demand for $230 million, claiming the investigations, ones backed by grand juries and mountains of evidence, were nothing but harassment and privacy violations. Have you ever wondered what happens when the president turns the tables and sues the very agency meant to hold him accountable, using your money to line his pockets? That's exactly what's unfolding here in this Trump DOJ reimbursement claim controversy, and it's raising massive red flags about abuse of power. The reporter kicks it off by highlighting the sheer absurdity, noting how Trump was rightfully investigated, indicted on solid evidence we witnessed firsthand, and was gearing up for trials that got derailed only because he won the election. Now, he's flipping the script, demanding a $250 million payout from the DOJ for what he calls wrongful probes. How does a guy who's dodged accountability at every turn suddenly play the victim and ask for a massive handout? Doesn't that scream entitlement? But hold on, because the real kicker is the legality of Trump's DOJ demand for $230 million, and trust me, it's a tangled web of conflicts that could make your head spin. Keep watching as we break down who actually decides if he gets paid. Diving into the legal nitty-gritty of this Trump $230 million DOJ lawsuit 2025 saga, the reporter points out that Trump's grievances stem from feeling harassed by investigations he obviously deserved. We're talking crimes, grand jury indictments based on hard evidence, and trials that were set to roll until his electoral victory put them on ice. Now, he's turning around and demanding compensation for privacy rights violations and harassment, all while positioning himself as the arbiter. If Trump's so confident these probes were baseless, why not let the courts decide instead of strong-arming the system? Could it be because he knows who'd win in a fair fight? The expert weighs in, explaining that in normal times, someone claiming injury from a federal employee's negligence would file a standard Form 95, basically a demand letter before suing, alleging property damage, personal injury, or even wrongful death in some cases. Here, Trump isn't alleging mere negligence, he's screaming intentional witch hunt, demanding $250 million as compensation. If you've ever dealt with government bureaucracy, does this sound like a legit claim to you, or more like a power grab disguised as paperwork? But who greenlights this payout in Trump's world? Spoiler, it's not an impartial judge, and the conflicts run deeper than you think. The expert breaks it down further, noting that this Form 95 is essentially a precursor to litigation, a way to say, pay up, or we'll see you in court, for alleged federal wrongs. In Trump's case, it's all about claiming DOJ folks intentionally targeted him, but the approval process. That's where the Trump DOJ conflict of interest 2025 nightmare kicks in. Normally, the decision-maker would be someone like the Deputy Attorney General. Here, that's Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal lawyer turned top DOJ official. How impartial can a guy be when he's not just a political appointee, but an at-will employee who could get fired for crossing the boss? Doesn't that scream rigged from the start? The expert highlights that Blanche, as Trump's handpicked deputy, would theoretically approve or deny the claim, but with his job on the line, the outcome seems predictable. If your boss demanded money from the company you run for him, would you say no, especially knowing he could boot you instantly? But wait, the DOJ claims no worries, they'll follow ethics advice. Except, as the expert reveals, there's a massive catch that blows the whole ethics angle out of the water. Keep listening, because this gets even more unhinged. Pivoting to those supposed safeguards in the Trump DOJ ethics officer controversy, the expert explains that conflict rules should kick in here. You can't have Trump's ex-lawyer deciding his boss's massive payout. So, the DOJ says they'll defer to their top ethics officer for guidance. Sounds reasonable, right? Wrong? What if that ethics watchdog was already neutralized? wouldn't that leave the fox guarding the henhouse? Turns out, Attorney General Pam Bondi fired the DOJ's top ethics officer back in July 2025, gutting any real oversight. The expert calls this the legal upside down, comparing it to Alice in Wonderland where punishment comes before trial. In a sane system, wouldn't a judge decide compensation for alleged unjust prosecution, not the aggrieved party himself? But here, Trump's essentially judging his own case, deciding if Trump deserves $230 million from taxpayers. Does this feel like justice to you, or a blatant power play that mocks the rule of law? And if Trump's self-dealing isn't wild enough, his confusion about even filing the claim takes it to dementia-level absurdity. Stay tuned for his rambling quote that proves he's lost in his own lies. The reporter then presses on Trump's delusional grasp of the process, quoting him directly to highlight the madness. "I have a lawsuit that was doing very well. And when I became president, I said, I'm sort of suing myself. I don't know. How do you settle the lawsuit? I'll say give me X dollars and I don't know what to do with the lawsuit," Trump said, adding, "It sort of looks bad. I'm suing myself, right? So, I don't know, but that was a lawsuit that was very strong, very powerful." Those are Trump's exact words, folks, ramblings that scream confusion, not command. The reporter calls it the ramblings of a demented madman, not the thoughtful strategy of a leader. How can a president who thinks he's already sued the DOJ, when he's only filed a demand form, be trusted to handle billions in taxpayer funds? This Trump suing DOJ Confusion 2025 moment exposes not just legal ignorance, but a dangerous detachment from reality. If Trump can't even track his own claims, how's he managing the country? Does this worry you for 2025 policy disasters? But the expert pushes further, tying it to Trump's broader self-enrichment spree, like demanding a $250 million White House ballroom for his personal use, a $1 billion jet retrofit that'll stay with him post-presidency courtesy of Qatar, and $172 million in Gulfstream jets for his family, all while gutting healthcare for millions. Expert says this is classic Trump, always about opulence at taxpayer expense, stripping Medicaid from $17 million, jacking up ACA costs for $24 million, and slapping tariffs that hike everyday prices in his misguided trade wars. Why promise America first while prioritizing personal luxury over struggling families? Could it be that Trump's vision of greatness is just for him and his circle? The expert calls it destruction of government institutions, spotlighting Trump's White House renovations, where he's demolishing historic parts without even screening them off, flaunting his power like a metaphor for trashing democracy. Having worked in D.C. for decades, the expert notes typical projects hide the mess. Does Trump's visibility scream, "Look at my authority," or is it just sloppy? But the big question lingers, when will congressional Republicans step up and stop this, or are they too complicit? Keep watching, because the hypocrisy is staggering. The reporter agrees, noting Republicans would impeach a Democrat instantly for far less, yet they stay silent on Trump's abuses. Expert says they are complicit in Trump's attempted demolition of federal institutions, lacking the spine to act unless Trump's polls tank, so bad re-election looks impossible. How much theft, harm to constituents, and institutional wreckage before enough is enough, doesn't silence make them enablers? If Obama or Biden tried this $230 million self-payout, wouldn't GOP howl for impeachment? Why the double standard in Trump-Republican complicity 2025? The reporter raps with the harm angle, who sues to stop this corruption? Expert explains lawsuits need standing, personal injury from the act. While all taxpayers suffer, certifying a massive class action is tough, though inevitable as Trump's stealing escalates. Could everyday Americans band together in a mega lawsuit against Trump taxpayer theft 2025? Would you join if it happened? The expert, a former prosecutor, sees crimes everywhere but notes class action pros haven't mobilized yet, perhaps fearing backlash from the dear leader. In the end, this Trump $230 million demand from DOJ scandal isn't isolated, it's part of a pattern of self-dealing that's eroding trust and draining resources. If this breakdown on Trump DOJ lawsuit legality 2025, conflicts of interest under Trump, and taxpayer-funded opulence fired you up, like the video now to spread the word. Subscribe for more on Trump White House renovations controversy and 2025 political hypocrisy exposes. And comment below, would Republicans impeach a DM for this? Why not Trump? Drop your thoughts.